I want to welcome everyone to our teleconference with Dawn Rickabaugh, the Note Queen. Dawn has been developing the Note Queen brand since 2007 when she got her California real estate broker's license and went to work out of her home office. And now her business model is primarily buying performing private seller carryback notes, mortgages, and trust deeds, and consulting in note and owner-financed real estate transactions before they close. So she can structure them for the maximum financial benefit of everyone involved. And her website is notequeen.com, and she also has another website called ownerfinancingclub.com, and I recommend that you visit both of those websites. And she is also the author of, I know a number of you have read her book, Seller Financing on Steroids, and she has a course as well. And Dawn will be teaching at our Note Symposium coming up in April in Las Vegas. So, Dawn, I certainly want to welcome you to this teleconference. Thank you for joining us tonight.
Well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here and just be a part of what you're doing.
Good. Thank you. Before we officially start, I do want to say if when you have questions, please email me, and I'll be happy to forward them on, and we'll take as many questions as we can during the teleconference, and those we can't get to, I will forward to Dawn, and she would be gracious enough to respond. You can email me at wjm@papersourceonline.com, wjm as in Michael, at papersourceonline.com. Well, Dawn, I went briefly a little bit of how you got started in the note business. Are you primarily buying for your own portfolio, or are you primarily brokering, or both?
Well, I guess it's both, but mainly I just don't find it that gratifying to broker. Actually, Henry Dvorkin, I think I've told you this before, but I consider him sort of my father in the industry because he's the one that made me switch from a broker mentality to a buyer mentality, and that ended up, I didn't see how I could do it, but, I just thought, oh gosh, if I just don't make a big wad of cash, real quick and every month, I'm just not going to make it. But what happened is when I started buying and leveraging other people's money to buy the notes, keeping a piece of it for myself, little bits of money started stacking up, and now my passive income has made me really stress-free. And some of that's my money, but most of it is other people who want me to help them get involved in investing in notes. So it's very rare for me to just get rid of a note. Usually I'll stay involved and help new people get involved in buying notes that otherwise wouldn't feel comfortable pulling the trigger.
What is, give us a simple example, and we'll get into some more complicated transactions, hopefully, but give us a simple example of keeping, you say you keep the piece of a note. What do you mean by that? Okay,
for instance, I bought there was a 30-year note with a 7-year balloon. I don't like balloons very much, even though 7 years is respectable. I don't really like balloons on owner-occupants, so I said, look, I'll buy up to the balloon, but I won't buy the balloon. So anyway, I bought a 4-year partial from this gentleman, and I got it under contract from him for $30,000. And so what I did is say, and my yield, I want to say, and I didn't calculate this, but my yield, let's say I bought it at an 18% yield. It's a relatively small note, but let's say I made 18% on that at $30,000. Well, so then I bring in an investor, and maybe they bring in $32,000, and I pay them 9%. So they're getting 9%. I made $2,000 up front, and I keep about let's say $150 a month out of that monthly payment. I stay in it. I service it. Basically, I assign them the collateral just as if I had sold it to them, but they want me in the middle because they don't ever want to have to deal if there's a potential foreclosure, which will come out of my pocket and my elbow grease, to correct any sort of situation. So they're thrilled from getting 1% in the CD to getting 9% secured by this note, and knowing that I'm there to, take care of everything. So, and then for me, I get paid to put the deal together. Plus, I just pulled $150 a month passive income out of thin air, none of my own capital.
Okay. How do you find these deals?
A lot of them come to me now, and because I'm a boutique operation, I'm a one-person show with a part-time assistant. I don't do high volume, so for me, it's a perfect flow of things that come either once in a while from other brokers. Usually those don't work out so well, but people find me on the internet, and they start conversations, or I get referred, and then some of the time, I would say 25% of the time, people, in the course of my consulting, a note gets created that they then want me to buy. So it's kind of a roundabout way for, it's kind of a sneak attack for creating a pipeline of paper, so to speak.
Okay. So it's mostly referrals at this point? You're not out advertising or looking in the county?
You know what? All I've done is 4 years of blogging, and I didn't even know what that would lead to. I wrote the book in 4 years ago, and then I've done a little bit of speaking about, but basically it's blogging, making silly little YouTube videos, a little bit of speaking, and by now, so that's what, when did I start blogging? Was that 2009, 2008? Anyway, it's just sort of taken on a life of its own at this point.
Okay. Questions come in here. By the way, again, if you joined us a little late, if you have any questions for Dawn, please email WJM at papersourceonline.com. That's all one word. WJM is in Michael at papersourceonline.com. Question came in from Robin. Do you handle your servicing of the notes that you hold in-house or through a third party?
Yeah, at this time I do hold them in-house because I'm basically, since I'm a principal to the transaction, I don't mind doing that at this point. I can see that even though I love Notesmith, and there's a lot of, that's a great tool, I think at some point when the volume's high enough, I'll probably outsource that piece.
Okay, but you're using Notesmith at this point?
Yes. And I'm really looking forward to that help day they threw in a day before your thing. I'm going to go because there's some things I just haven't quite wrapped my head around. I just know the bare bones of how to do that.
Oh, good. Well, I didn't know John had publicly announced that yet, so I'm glad.
Yeah, I signed up right away.
Good. Well, let's. Those of you who use Notesmith or don't know about Notesmith, go to notesmith.com. And John Moran is a good friend, and we worked with him since he developed Notesmith back in the late 80s. And John and I have taught classes together, and it's a great program. If you have notes of your own, it's a great program to keep track of the servicing and the payments that are made, and generate late letters and generate tax reports and such things, like all the things you need to know. So that's notesmith.com. And John, as Dawn mentioned, he was planning on it, but I didn't know he'd announced it, is going to have a Notesmith Help Day for those who are interested in using Notesmith, more interested in learning how better to use Notesmith. And that will be a day before our Note Symposium, which good segue for me to mention, comes up in April at the end of April, and go to Paper Source. Yes, Dawn.
Oh, I'm really sorry I interrupted you at a bad time, but I'm just curious. Someone just emailed that they can't get in. Did you accidentally block anyone else from joining?
Well, they should be. If they're using Magic Jack, they won't be able to get in. But
they can still join the call. You didn't block people from joining.
No, I didn't block anybody from joining. In fact, we have about 180 people on right now.
Oh my!
Yeah, so they shouldn't have a problem. You might just email them back and tell them to make sure they're not calling on a VoIP. Just a regular landline or a cell phone will work.
Yeah, as well. She said I'm on a regular line, but I can't get in. Anyway, I resent her the phone number and the access code. Hopefully she'll get in.
Good. Okay. Yeah, I don't know what the problem would be. Again, my email, if you have questions for Dawn, is wjm@papersourceonline.com. And just let me finish on the seminar that the Notesmith Help Day is the day before, and then we have our Note Symposium. We have a large number of people, experts speaking at that, teaching at that, and that will be April 26th and 27th in Las Vegas. Go to papersourceseminars.com if you're interested in that. And we also have a discount registration, which expires at March 22nd. And it's not mentioned on the website, but if you sign up for the symposium and mention that you're on this call, we will give you a free copy of our Registry of Note Investors and a 1-year subscription to the PaperSource Journal.
That's a good deal.
A question comes in from Thomasina. Is it possible to purchase a note without having cash up front? And if so, what is the best approach?
Well, that's exactly what I do, is I leverage other people's money. So in the case I showed you before, I actually got paid none of my own money, just whatever I've invested to get to this point, which is substantial. But other times, I'll do sort of some of my money will go in. But if I have no money, what I do is find someone who believes in me, trusts me, and they give me the money to buy the note, and I give them a certain return. I have the note under contract at a higher yield, and so I keep the spread. And so you don't have to service the note yourself, but if you want to stay in that way, instead of taking a huge fee out front or in addition to a small fee, that's totally possible. And to me, this is like such a win-win for everyone.
Well, it sounds like you deal a lot with partials. Is that correct?
Yeah, I've got several partials and several wholes, and some are short-term, and some I even just not too long ago bought one that still has 28 years left to go. But so I have kind of a smattering of short-term, long-term, partials, whole notes, because I think there's benefits to, pros and cons to both. I like diversifying that way.
Well, do you often buy a note and then sell off part of the payments and keep the back end?
I certainly have thought about doing it, but so far I have not.
Okay. Because it's often said, I call that the world's best retirement program. Because it's not government regulated, for one thing, which always makes things better. The simple, and Dawn knows this, but I'm saying this for the benefit of someone who may not be familiar with it. You simply purchase a note and sell off a number of payments to an investor. And for example, if you bought a 10-year note, you'd sell off the next 5 or 7 years of payments to an investor. But then at the end of that period of time, the note comes back to you, and you get those payments. And if you sold the note at a lower yield than what you bought it for, you could sell it for the same price as what you bought it for.
And then you just have this magic tail end of bonus.
Exactly, and sell into you buy 10 years, you buy a 10-year note, and you sell, say, 7 years, and get all the money that you paid for it back. And at the end of 7 years, you get the next 3 years of payments, and you have no investment at all in that. So if you do that over and over and over again, it'd be a tremendous income for you.
Yeah, I think that's something. As my passive income grows, I still haven't hit. I would say what my ideal is for passive recurring monthly income. But once I have everything I need, I think I'll shift to that more because I'll want to. It'll make a lot more sense when I hit a certain level. So
sure.
I do have one. I'd be willing to do that way, but no one's taken me up on it yet. But I haven't tried that hard. I love my note payments. I love money coming in the mailbox.
There you go. Question from Patrick. Pretty broad question. What's the best way for someone new to this like me who would like to get started?
It's a bit like if I knew something about your background, it'd be a little easier. But if you're on this call, there's no better way to get started than with Bill's course and his university and things that he's offering. And here's the great thing I didn't get to pipe in when you were talking about this convention that's coming up is most of the people there, and correct me if I'm wrong, am I the only one maybe Simon, that wasn't around in the 90s when I was first starting to hang around the note crowd, and I paid too much for courses and mentoring programs that just totally, pardon my French, but bent me over, you know, and did to a lot of people. But that's how when I went to the Noteworthy convention, that's where I didn't meet you, Bill, but I knew you were there, and I think almost everybody else was there. So, like, these are high-quality veterans who have a certain ethic, I've noticed, that a lot of the other gurus out in the industry don't. So I just got to say, you're in the right place. If you're hooked up with Bill, I really can't think of a better way to get your feet wet and start.
I appreciate that, Dawn, but I would also return the compliment and suggest to Patrick that he goes to notequeen.com and ownerfinancingclub.com and read Dawn's book and get her information there and get hooked up with Dawn, and that would be a great way to get started.
Well,
we have
you.
a question. Well, you're welcome. You're welcome. Question here from Tony. Are you finding the repayments to be slow and/or do you have a lot of default problems? In other words, are you having any problems with slow pays or defaults, and how do you work with slow payers?
That's a good question, and a lot of people are worried about that. You know, some people in the note business are buying this stuff that's defaulted already, and that's so far I don't know that my emotional makeup is set up to handle that, because you have enough challenges when you buy performing paper that looks like it's going to be a no-brainer, no problems. For instance, this cute little couple that I'm collecting payments on their note. They're young. They've got, and they have a little health problem hiccup, and then she's out of work for a week, so then they can't make it on the one income, so then they get behind, and then they can't pay the insurance, so I've got to, you know, to keep the insurance from canceling, I got to put that out of pocket. But she kept in contact with me, and once they got their tax returns, they got all caught up, but they were kind of having troubles hit and miss for a couple of months there. So even under the best of circumstances, I'm not worried, because I think my investment is like less than 15% of the investment to value of the property. But, you know, and then there's another guy that I have to figure out what I'm going to do with him, because he's routinely paying late, and he moved the mobile home without telling me. He thought, I guess I wouldn't find out, so he's actually in violation. So even though it's performing, he's paying late, not paying his late fees, and now I feel like the collateral is in jeopardy, so I'm like, that's fun. You know, now I have to figure out who am I going to hire, an attorney over there to go after that. So stuff, you know, does happen, but for the most part, you know, with the performing first, the way I buy them, I rarely have trouble, but it does happen every now and then.
Well, you're exactly right. I mean, I think it's most important to be more concerned with the return of your money than the return on your money. And once you, once you feel, well, this is a pretty good situation, then I'll look at the return on my money. But that's certainly.
Actually, that brings up a good, one of my consulting clients last year was an attorney got me involved to help him figure out the note side of things. And so what had happened is they were going to get a double of their money in 6 months. So what would that be, a 200% return? But then, anyway, they didn't end up getting anything, because she just stiffed them. So it's like their 200% yield turned into negative, and they were having to sue her just to try to get it back, but they didn't collateralize it properly. So I don't know. So sometimes if you're too greedy and you get too sparkly with that stuff, it can bite you.
Well, one thing too you have to be aware of is when you often see this, a seller of a note will. Somebody comes to you, let's say they're trying to sell you a note, and they say, well, the payer doesn't really, pay very well, and he's always late, so I'll discount the note even more. And, I think, well, how does my paying less for the note make the payer make it a better note?
Yeah. I mean, that only makes sense. Note. Yeah, no, we're going to discount as a non-performing, so it's not going to be minorly less. It's going to be, this is a non-performing note, so you have a very different profile here.
Absolutely, and that does bring me to a question, although I will mention, as far as non-performing notes, defaulted notes, converting non-performing notes into re-performing notes, that's going to be a large area in which we're going to discuss at the Note Symposium. Gordon Moss is going to be talking about that.
He is so awesome. I love Gordon.
Gordon is fantastic. And he's going to be teaching quite a bit at the symposium. We also have Alice Nicole of Brownstone teaching defaulted firsts, how to find them, how to protect yourself, how to broker them. And we have Jack Krupsey from Gemini, who's also going to be talking about defaulted notes. So we have at least, I believe, 3 speakers at least on the subject of non-performing notes, and totally different approaches. Though all these people have completely different approaches to it. Mm-hmm. Gordon, for example, Gordon Moss specializes. He thinks the best opportunities are in defaulted seconds, not firsts. And so it's very unique stuff. So that if you're interested in that, go to papersourceseminars.com and check out our Las Vegas Note Symposium coming up at the end of April. And we have, as I mentioned before, a discounted price which expires on March 22nd. And if you sign up and let me know through an email that you signed up because you heard this teleconference, you can you will get a free subscription to the PaperSource Journal and a copy or an extension of your present subscription, and our brand new Registry of Note Investors coming up.
Dawn, and, the thing that I love about those things is, like, I go and I learn so much, not only from listening in on other people's stuff, but then, when you're eating meals or going out to the bar later, you learn so much, and those connections are golden. And I can't believe how cheap you're doing this event. It's incredible.
Oh.
I mean, it's the best value. I don't want to say cheap. Let me say best value people are going to get, like, all year.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's 2 full days. Believe me, 2 full days. We start at 8 and go into 6 into the evening, and we have 2 served sit-down luncheons included in that, and a breakfast. And as Dawn says, best of all, not only the teachers, and there's no sales pitches. We do not allow sales pitches. If people have a product for sale, that's fine. You can talk to them privately. And, I might mention they have a product for sale, but none of this stuff, you go, you pay so much money to get on.
For the next 10 people only.
Yeah, what? Hello?
Me?
I'm sorry. I thought I heard something. Anyway, my point is you pay so much money to go to these things, and then you sit in a room and get hammered to buy some multi-$1,000, course that today only is, $19.95. And that, we don't do that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's enough of that.
Blah, blah.
If you have questions for Dawn, please email me, wjm@papersourceonline.com. And a question has come in, Dawn, from Robin. Do you use joint venture agreements when you do these note deals, or do you just have an LLC, or do you just have informal agreements? How do you have a contract with people?
The bulk of my deals are strictly, let's say, just, how people borrow money to buy property, right? Well, I basically borrow money to buy notes, and it has the exact same security. So I guess you would call it an hypothecation. It's a loan agreement to borrow money to buy the note, and they, instead of being the original beneficiaries on the note and deed of trust, they simply get assigned the note and deed of trust. So they still have the same exact type of collateral as they would if they were loaning me money to buy a piece of property, but instead they're loaning me money to buy a note, and that's simply how it is. Other people who I know who've been working with me for a bit, they've been in part of my community. We've invested in 2 or 3 notes together. They say, I'm learning more, and I'd really love to maybe joint venture. So just recently, we did a deal together like that where I put in a little, he put in most, and then we're going to split it, a certain percentage, and it's, I guess, depending on what the situation is and who's doing what and blah, blah, blah. But so it can be anything, whatever is most relevant for the parties.
When you're looking to buy a note in this way, for your either going to keep the whole thing or spin off some of it to an investor, what are the things you look at in a note? What's your criteria for doing that?
First, when I see a note opportunity, first I determine what's my maximum investment that I will do no matter what. So that involves looking at the collateral and getting an idea of what it's really worth. So then I'll go, I already have in my head a maximum, so I don't have to get all starry-eyed about a return, right, like you were talking. Basically, I just want to know what's the most I can invest. Next, I kind of want to see, want to know where it is too, like is it a judicial state or, deed of trust state that will affect it. What type of property? Would I want to own this property? And then I want to look at the profile of how the deal came together. How much down payment did they have? And then, of course, term. Even more than interest rate, the term seems to be the most significant in terms of what I can pay for the note. If it's a 5-year AM, like a lot of the mobile homes are, or it's a 30-year amortization, that changes the picture, substantially.
Okay. Well, we have another question that's come in. Again, WJM, as in Michael, WJM at papersourceonline.com. Email any questions you have for Dawn. I'm not sure that he quite gets what we're doing here, so I'll throw this question over to you. Philip asks, would this approach be suitable to help people in danger or foreclosure or to help a first-time buyer purchase a home?
Yes, this can help a first-time buyer buy a home if they can't qualify for regular financing, or even if they can but they don't want to. So I have helped people as part of my consulting business when they say, hey, we've got this part. Like, here's a perfect example. This very successful couple in Florida, the credit was hammered because they had a couple of either 1 or 2 short sales or foreclosures, not sure. A lot of people had stuff go haywire, upside down, and all that. So even though they had a huge down payment and they have good monthly income, they couldn't qualify. So what we did is, I helped them figure out sort of how to keep from wasting a lot of time so that they could narrow it down. And once they got someone who was willing, we just negotiated an owner financing. They still got great financing. I want to say it was about 5%, which is great, and no points, right? All they did is pay me as a consultant to help them do it. And then I hope I'm in line to buy a piece of that note if the person ever decides they want to get some, liquidity out of that. So in terms of helping people that are losing their homes, that's a tough one because they say, oh, well, they're I'm in foreclosure. Why don't you just go buy the note from the bank and do it instead of, negotiating a short sale? Why don't you go try to buy the note and then you can sell it back to me or something like that? Well, it's so hard to do that. To call in and to have them even know what you're talking about and even get to the right thing. Usually they're prohibited by, other factors but they usually don't even know what you're saying. So I just say good luck, but no, I quit spinning my wheels in that department a few years ago.
Okay. Question came in about Texas, and there's several questions about the SAFE Act and Dodd-Frank, but have you bought any notes in Texas?
No, right now I don't have any.
Okay.
I've made offers on several.
Okay. Well, I'm going to suggest to Fred, who asked that question, if you go to txmortgage.com, that's the abbreviation for Texas, txmortgage.com, and contact Fred Hobbs with Texas Mortgage Capital. And he is a licensed mortgage originator and is an expert on the SAFE Act, and particularly in Texas, and with Dodd-Frank as well. And he can help you with that. His website has information on it, and particularly as it applies in Texas. I'm going to be writing an article for the Paper Source Journal, probably in the, I'm going to say the April issue, we've given a lot of coverage to Dodd-Frank and to the SAFE Act, and we're going to have an update on that and exactly what it means and how it affects note buyers. There's a lot of misunderstanding. People say, well, you can't have balloons and you can't do this and you can't do that, and so we're going to try to make that as clear as we can. Put it that way. Question from Robert: to help a for sale by owner seller put a deal together, do you need to be licensed as a mortgage broker or loan originator?
Well, I don't think so. I guess depending on how you're arranging your formal relationship, but let me think about that. If you're helping someone put a deal together, the thing is, you maybe can advise them. What do you think, Bill, on this? Because you're still going to want to go through like title, escrow, and all those kinds of things. And if they're not paying a licensed person, they might want to have an attorney involved in looking at it.
There's some issues there. As I mentioned with Dodd-Frank before. You don't want to be sitting down with them and crafting the note and writing the note, and because then you have to work through a licensed loan originator, MLO, mortgage loan originator, and that's what's changed. So it's usually best, as Dawn says, to have a professional involved if you're going to be getting down to the nitty-gritty.
But if you're just saying, hey, this is how the secondary market works, and here's how your note could have market on the, because
you give them information, and the law is vague on that. Discussing terms of the note, you're not supposed to do that. You can talk to them though, and as far as and again, this is not legal advice. I urge you to do that. Get legal advice. But
now, what if they were talking to them as a prospective buyer of the note?
Well, that doesn't matter. We're just talking about the payer on the note. Yeah, the buyer of the note. That's not covered. The law is concerned with the payer on the note, and that people aren't trying to take advantage of somebody.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
Well, I'm licensed, with my California license. But I still like to really collateralize myself by having other professionals involved, having things go through escrow, getting title insurance. And a lot of times I function more as a facilitator and a top-down, just say, here's what you need and what you don't need. But I let the E&O insurance ride on other people sometimes too. Like there's more people involved, more eyes looking at it, just so it looks above board. But a lot of these things are not owner-occupied deals, so they don't actually fall. I mean, you've got raw land, or you've got it's a rental property or commercial property. Those things don't necessarily alarm me near to the same degree as a single-family residence owner-occupant deal.
Okay. If someone were to get started, or they're trying to make it in the business, and they like your business plan, what should they be doing in terms of using the internet? Should they set up their own website? Should they market it through social media? What kind of tips could you give somebody in that regard?
Well, the only thing I know is my own experience. I'm not saying by any stretch that I'm good, master at promotion, but what's worked for me is blog. Like I pretty much took what I like to do and just did that. So I like to write, I like to educate, I like to make videos, and so just steadily building up that. And so there's certain things that you can learn, like how you title, how you make your titles, how often, if you go get backlinks, make comments on other things, give backlinks to yourself. But the black hat tricks usually backfire. So it's just about, it's a steady, it's not a get rich quick. We've talked about that before. It's a steady building of a business. You got to have a long-term vision. I would just have a 5-year plan, 7-year plan, 10-year plan. For me, I started hanging around the note business back when I still had my RN license and I was working at the hospital as an RN. And it took me till 2004 to quit my job. So that was, let's say, 10 years of hanging around, spending money, being a wannabe. And so then 2004, and then I made, tried on everything in the note business and in real estate, what worked, what didn't work. Finally, by 2007, kind of, so that's 3 years for me to figure out what's my best niche. And then even then, some years were up, some years were down, and I really just hit my stride maybe 2-3 years ago, where all of a sudden I have the sense of it's just happening. I'm along for the ride instead of I'm scratching and pushing and trying really hard to make everything happen. But I've just put in some consistent effort, blogging, videos, speaking, write a book, get smart, write a book. I mean,
everybody knows about smart. Something, and
you don't even have to be that smart. Just write something, because it's a legitimizer. Everyone assumes that if you're on Amazon, well, you must know something. And so that was a good way for me to. I think that was an important piece. I'm not exactly sure how important each different one was, but yeah, I hope a little bit.
What are your personal goals in the next few years?
Well, just to continue doing what I'm doing to build my passive income to a certain degree. Like, it would be really cool just to have the super, just pure passive, be, wouldn't that be great for it to be $20,000 a month? And then if I didn't feel like doing anything all year, it would be fantastic. But although I just like working with people as much as I can and helping them make a difference. This year I'm actually writing a different book. It has nothing to do with notes at all. And so that's one thing that's on my list.
Will you share that with us?
I haven't figured out. Maybe we should take a vote, but it's either going to be called "Robbed of Empty Nest," "Swindle of the Century," or "Blessing in Disguise," or it's going to be called "I Got You Through High School. Why Are You Still on My Couch?" Because remember how I told you the chickens lay me eggs, but the kids didn't?
Right. Yes.
Well, 3 out of 4 are still spending, a significant amount of time at home, and so it's caused me to use my creative financing that I've cultivated through the note business, plus ideas of alternative currencies and time banking. I've blended that into my own unique plan that has worked really well, because I was ready to tear my hair out, and now we've got a sort of intentional community where everybody's making a meaningful contribution, and most of the time I'm actually glad they're here to a certain degree, So I'm just sharing that system that we've been beta testing for 2 years in our family with the world.
Well, great. Well, that's very interesting. People like to hear that, Dawn. No botches.
I could also name it "Some Species Eat Their Young. Here's how not to boil your young adult children."
All right. Good. Well, let me remind you people that there's a lot of information at Dawn's website, notequeen.com. She has a home study course called Pumping Paper for Profit. She has the Owner Financing Club, which you can join, and I recommend you do. She is having a live seminar on April 21 in California. She's got her ebook, she's got a note appraisal course, and a number of other things. So visit notequeen.com. And Dawn, again, will be honoring us with teaching at our event in April, which is at papersourceseminars.com. And you get a free PaperSource subscription and our brand new Registry of Note Investors, which is just coming out in the next few days, if you register and mention that you were in on this teleconference. Well, I want to, again, thank you, Dawn. It's really been a pleasure to get a little insight into what you do and how you work, and I thank you for joining us tonight.
Thank you so much, Bill. It's always a pleasure. Really, really excited to see you and everybody else in Las Vegas. So
Right.
until then.
We'll look forward to it. Bye-bye.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.